It's Mahia May.
Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Danny Mejia, aka Mejia May. First of all, Merry Christmas to everybody. Today I'm gonna be breaking down a hard West Coast sample, so let's get into it. Okay, you guys, so before we get started, I do want to address the microphone issue. Unfortunately, my little microphone stopped working. I'm gonna get on it ASAP so I can get back to making quality videos for you guys. So let's start getting into the breakdown. So for this sample, I already knew I was gonna make a hard West Coast sample. I knew I wanted a piano in it for sure. So I was messing around on the piano, just trying to come up with different melodies as I usually do. So for this one, as you guys can tell, it's pretty repetitive. I wanted something that felt catchy, and that's exactly what I did over here. The VST I use for this piano comes from Contact. It's from the Noir Pure library, and I use the Extra Body preset. For this sound, I didn't feel like it needed any extra effects, so the only thing I did is deduct some of that very low end all the way up to 24 hertz. The next sound I added, I wanted to reinforce that bottom end from the piano. So I went ahead and added another piano, which is an octave lower than that first original piano that I played. And this is what it sounds like. So for this sound as well, I used the Noir Pure library from Contact, but this time I used the Smooth and Deep preset. And for this sound, I did nothing to it. Next up, I wanted a drone-like type of sound. So I was going through the different presets on Diva, and I ended up coming across this sound right over here. Let's take a listen to what it sounds like. The VST I use for this sound comes from Diva. I use the BS Sweet Harmony preset. So let's listen to what we have so far, which are the two pianos and that additional textural sound. As y'all can tell, that Diva sound is pretty tucked back in the mix. It's mainly just to fill out some space and give the sample extra texture. So after I added those two pianos, that textural synth, I felt like it was missing some violin. I ended up adding this right over here. This sound, once again, comes from the Contact library. It's called Session Strings 2. For these violins, I wanted to add some texture to it. So one way I achieved that was to add this RC20 retro color. The preset I use for this sound is Hotline Phase. Another thing I did to it is I wrote off a lot of that low end all the way up to 120 hertz. So before the sample gets to the next 8 bars, I wanted a textural sound that transitions to those next 8 bars. So I decided to add this sound right over here. So this sound, once again, comes from one of my favorite VSTs, Diva. I use the HS Giant Sloth preset. For this sound, once again, I thought it gave off too much of a clean sound coming straight off of Diva, so I wanted to add some texture to it. For this sound, I use Tape Mellowfy by Arturia. I use the Fat Analog preset. And then the last thing I did to this sound is roll off a lot of that bottom end all the way up to 130 hertz. So for these next 8 bars, I wanted to make this sample a little bit more interesting and add a couple more sounds to it. So I went ahead and added this sound right over here. For this sound, I used Expand 2. I used the Chimes Bells Arpeggio preset. For this sound, once again, I wanted to add some texture to it. I used Tape Mellowfy. I used the Lo-Fi Quiver preset. And I'm really only using this plugin for this filter right over here. I have it at 13% low pass. Next up, using that same pattern as the first arpeggio, as we can see over here in the piano roll, I wanted to add another layer to the sample, so I went ahead and added this sound over here. This time I used the Wood Rhythm preset. For this sound, I didn't add any effect to it. I just rolled off some of that low end all the way up to 90 hertz. So after I had added my 2 other arpeggios, I thought the sample was still missing a melodic element. So I went ahead and played this piano melody right over here. For this sound, the VST I use comes from FL Keys. I use the Grand Piano preset. And there are two effects I added. Let's go ahead and start with the first one, which is of course RC Retro Color. I use the Vinyl 1 preset. Next up, I wanted the piano to feel like if it was in a room. The VST I use is Raw by Native Instruments. I just used the initial preset. And now for the final section of the sample, I wanted to add a little bit more extra rhythm to the sample. So I went ahead and added this sound over here. For this sound, once again, the VST I used comes from Diva. I use the SG Swirly EP preset. And once again, going back to that mentality of giving this section of the sample a different vibe, I used the same lead melody piano, except I used a different melody. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what it sounds like. And for the final sound for this sample, I decided to add a vocal. The VST I used to get this vocal sound comes from Arcade. I used the Azimuth library. I didn't feel like this vocal sample needed any extra effects. The only thing I did to it is cut off some of that low end all the way up to 90 hertz. So that's how y'all can make a hard West Coast sample. I'm gonna go ahead and play the sample in full just so we can hear everything in context. Alright, y'all, so let me know in the comment section what y'all thought of the sample. Once again, Merry Christmas to every one of you. If y'all gained any type of insight from this video, please leave a like, please leave a comment. It's really gonna help the channel grow. By the way, you guys, I just reached 500 subscribers, so shout out to you guys. I really appreciate that, guys. Keep commenting, keep subscribing. Let's go ahead and keep this momentum going. If you guys are new to the channel, I put out 4 videos a month. That's 2 beat breakdowns, a sample breakdown just like I did today, and I also do sample flip challenges. With that being said, I'm gonna catch y'all next week for a new beat breakdown. Until then, stay blessed.